Welcome to episode 8 of Streaming Solutions. We're going to get into some medium to advanced concepts right now, so I hope you'll enjoy this episode. We're talking about academic or just general presentation videos. I hope you enjoy. Follow along.
Alright, we're going to get right into this, and we're just going to skip the me talking head part and just go directly into this demonstration. So, I worked on a bunch of presentations a few years ago when I worked at a university, and I noticed a common theme in the presentations. A lot of them, especially due to COVID and the rise of Zoom, had a talking head type of presentation combined with slides and information. And it's really easy to do on Zoom, which has a default menu to showcase slides and, your camera and whatnot. But it does lack some things that I like to do. And so I'm going to complicate this and show you how to make your presentation fancy. So in my position, we were presenting this live to an audience while also live casting this information. And I know that a lot of presentations, especially in this industry or circle, still do things like this. So it leaves a lot of leeway to what the speaker's doing and how they're paying attention to things. And because academics can be picky about what they're displaying or how they want it to be seen or used, you kind of have some guidelines, restrictions. It can get complicated, and you want to simplify it as much as possible. How can we do this and still have this be easy? So let's look at some variables, some problems, and solutions. Number one solution, you can use Zoom. But the problem with Zoom is that the camera's on the laptop. You don't get a good angle on a speaker, and if they like to walk around, Zoom will not work for this purpose. You can use a remote or a pan tilt zoom camera, but you're also kind of still at the mercy of what the speaker is doing. If you use a laptop and you want to control the laptop, they have to tell you to move to the next slide. If you don't know what they're talking about, which kind of frequently happened in my position, it's better to have them control their own slides. Also, one of the problems here is that if this is being presented live, you might have an extra screen out so the live audience can see a TV or something on a projector. So then it gets even more complicated because now you need a Zoom feed out with a camera, multiple laptops. So again, lots of different problems to this solution that can present itself. So this is my solution. And some people just point a camera at a presentation and they're done with it. I don't like to do that because a camera pointed at a screen usually has bad quality. So this one takes a screen capture directly. So that way you get nice crystal clear slides. I wanted the speaker to focus on his presentation, be able to move and walk around freely, advance his slides freely, and focus on the data he's giving with great quality and fidelity from the data as best as possible. Even if you had compression on this, you could upload the raw feed and you'd get a solid recording. So we had a template of what we wanted the overall feel to look like, the cameras and the angles, and to be cheeky, I also created a few up and down stream feeds that made it interesting and gave me the latitude to look good while live. And this is why I like OBS, because it gives way more freedom to upstream and downstream keys, overlays, sizing, and movement of videos. I'm going to start from the beginning, but there is our display device that's functioning. It's got its display up, and we're just going to set the file up so you guys know how to operate. So first off, we're going to open up OBS. We're going to get that going. Okay, so you can kind of see my reflection here. Alright, so here's what we need. We're going to need, first things first, we're going to keep this all in the same scene. We're going to bring in a video capture device. We're going to call this the PowerPoint display. Okay, so we have the PowerPoint display, and that device is going to be not a camera, but that's going to be the USB video input. Wow, that looks pretty sharp. Okay, so now we have our input right here. This is what's being played on this computer that's right over here. Transition that, but actually before we do that, we're going to start messing around with it first. So the whole point of this is to give us some colorful flavor in this demonstration. Now, typically what's going to happen, I've got another camera connected right here. It's a webcam, you know, but it'll give you an idea. Normally it would be another camera connected to a device, so that way you could film the speaker while he's talking. So we've got that. Now we're going to bring in another device. We're going to bring in another video capture device. This one we're going to call Camera 1. That is going to be the USB live camera. There we go. Okay, so here's our speaker. What we're going to do is we're going to crop him. We're going to bring him in, I don't know, let's go with 250, maybe we'll need more than that. 300 pixels, 300. Alright, that looks good. Okay. And just for good measure, we're going to shrink him a little bit. We're going to bring him underneath the PowerPoint, so that way he looks good. Maybe we'll make him a little bit bigger. There we go. Then we're going to bring in some graphics. So, actually, let's just add some text. We'll do it right here. I like the black, so let's leave that black. Let's just bring in some text. I like the white because we're going black and white, so let's just make it actually a little bit smaller. We're going to do another title. We're going to do name. And we'll do one more just for giggles from... Oops. Okay, so maybe we'll make that a little bit. Name title. We're going to transition that over. There is our output. So we have our speaker, and just so you know, the speaker, when he's talking, you can see the camera moving. Blah 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 blah. I'm talking about something important. Now the great thing about this setup, or the most important thing about this setup, is this guy can control his PowerPoint. So when he's talking, he's just giving a presentation. And you'll see that he can do whatever he wants to the live audience. You can see right here I'm pressing the next screen over. And it's going to advance, really, without you having to advance anything or to do anything for them. So what this does is this definitely gives an air of he's in control of his own topic and presentation while you pretty much present the data information, the live view of the speaker as he's talking about things, because you can see this is very important, and he's talking about it. Blah, 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 blah. And when you're done, you can then add your extra video layers above or below. So you could even add a different scene. Let's call this scene 2. And in scene 2, we're just going to add those same existing. The only problem with this is that when you switch between scenes, your devices will still have the crop on them. So as you switch, so for example, he's done talking, he's done doing his presentation, and now he's just going to talk to the audience. When you transition, you'll still have your crop. So if you had an additional camera, that would be really great, because then you could have camera 3, or actually, I'm sorry, camera 2. 3 sources, camera 2 into this setup, and he could keep talking, and you go back to the scene. He'll keep talking and moving around, and you can interact with the audience and have everything go like that. I prep my layers and my keys for a video overlay, for an intro video and an outro video. Those are optional, of course. If you're going to have videos, you need to make sure that you're checking your sound solution, because OBS does not play nicely with importing videos into the sound solution. So you will need free audio input routing software, so that way you make sure that you get the routing from the video feed to go loop back into your OBS feed. This is a whole other show on its own, and OBS has trouble with sound, so what I like to do is I like to send everything out from that laptop to a separate recorder, and then that way you get audio that's in good fidelity and in good sync. After you make sure that you take care of the audio issue, I also have another camera as a wide angle or audience view if I need to switch to that camera, and that's an overlay over everything, so there's an upstream, downstream signal again. I like to start with that camera angle as the speaker introduces himself, and then switch to that presentation view when they begin the actual presentation. And I keep a lower third over the top level to keep that professional too. Sometimes if somebody introduces the speaker, you might need a lower third for the person who introduces the speaker, then the presentation. So that's why you want an additional camera angle. So the camera angle is also useful if you have audience questions too. So you can go to the full camera, take the focus off of an empty presentation or the end of a presentation. Here's a layer by layer breakdown, if you can follow, and I'll post these diagrams to help out if you wish to replicate this. The audio is usually a wireless mic. If it's only one speaker, I can plug my wireless directly into my computer or my mixer. Say I use a mini mixer. If you have a system with dual mics, then you can rock 2 mics, but then you're definitely going to want a mixer and a recorder. In some situations, I actually brought a wireless microphone for audience participation. So I had a lav mic on the speaker and a wireless mic for the audience to ask questions. Those questions would get routed into the system, and also we'd have questions that the audience could ask via whatever chat system we were using. So if we were using Zoom, somebody posted something in the chat, we used a couple different other software suites that they could still interact with the audience, and we would have somebody ask that question of the speaker. So again, a mixer works out really well, and it helps OBS because the audio drift issue can be fixed and recorded. So bring an audio recorder separately to make sure that you've got pristine audio, because you definitely don't want to do all of this work and have that be the last thing that gets screwed up. After all that goodness gets combined and mixed in the box, then it gets output to within OBS to the final destination. So that's Zoom, that could be YouTube, it could be Facebook, it could be whatever you're outputting, Twitch. You can interrupt the feed here and record this feed as well. So you can send your laptop output to a separate recorder, kind of like what I'm doing right here. And then you have that feed go from there to the internet somehow. However you get it to the internet, you definitely just want to make sure that you get a pristine or a higher quality recording. So whether or not you do capture the HDMI output of the mixing laptop or however you're going to do it, you just need to make sure that you're getting the best quality as possible, because you can record internally from OBS. Again, you may have audio drift issues. That's more likely than not, but also you want to make sure that you're not putting too much pressure on your laptop as well, or whatever machine you're using the mixing. Personally, I like to use the virtual camera output, send the feed to Zoom, again, separate recorder, and everything is double redundantly backed up. So make sure you have extra cables, that's redundant, but make sure you have extra recordings in the feed. So like, for example, from the camera is recorded before it goes into the laptop, so you have an absolute raw camera feed. Delete it afterwards, delete it if you don't need it, delete it if you need the space, but when you have the raw files, you at least can make a full backup of everything or a full edit of everything if you want to. So if your camera records, make sure your camera's record button is hit, right? That you have a mix record, which is everything all mashed together, and a raw record, which means each video signal, just in case you need it. After you've gotten the approval or the A-OK, or you're happy with your mix, then delete those raw files, but at least make sure you have the highest fidelity sources that you can get. Whew, so that's the gist of the idea. And if you do it right, it looks pretty good. You could stick with one camera, skip the outros and the intro videos, but where's the fun in that? Because this is what makes things cool. If you have things organized properly, if you have a solid feed and good quality, uploaded live and separately in high definition, you walk away from this thing in pretty much one take, job done and clean up. You don't have to spend time later mixing those audio and the raw files unless you really feel like you need to. But again, if you get that high fidelity signal before it goes to the internet, I wouldn't really be worried about it unless you have issues with audio or anything else. Alright, that's my suggestion. That's how I like it. I suggest you do it the same way.
Here's how I like them, and I suggest you have them the same way.